can trust. Call today.
This is your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, February 4th, 2014, brought to you by the National Cannabis Coalition. I'm Russ Belville. Oregon's governor has signaled his support for legislative action on marijuana legalization. Governor John Kitzhaber, a medical doctor, was the latest to jump on the legalization bandwagon, meeting with the state's newspaper editors. Kitzhaber said, quote, "I hear the drum beats from Washington and Colorado," end quote, as he voiced support for a legislative act rather than a citizen initiative to legalize marijuana. Quote, "I want to make sure we have a thoughtful regulatory system," Kitzhaber said. "The legislature would be the right place to craft that," end quote. The editorial board of the state's largest paper, the Oregonian, agreed, writing, quote, "Lawmakers should remember that they'll have to live with the results of the November 2014 election, so why not refer a measure of their own to the November 2014 ballot," end quote. The Salem Statesman Journal, the capital city's newspaper, quoted Governor Kitzhaber as saying that marijuana legalization is, quote, "probably inevitable, and I think we need to start thinking about how we're going to manage it," end quote. Marijuana smokers just might want to stay out of the state of New Mexico. We have yet another lawsuit from a citizen detained by New Mexico police for suspicion of drug crimes who claims the cops violated her body in conducting illegal searches. Lori Ford of Silver City was pulled over for speeding. She refused to let officers search her car, so they impounded and towed it while awaiting a search warrant. When she went to retrieve her car, Ford was arrested and strip searched by a female officer over the charges of possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Those charges were dropped when cops couldn't find the evidence. This lawsuit comes on the heels of a $1.6 million settlement paid by Hidalgo County taxpayers to a man subjected to multiple body cavity searches, enemas, x-rays, and a colonoscopy in a futile police search for drugs. 2 other lawsuits over humiliating cavity searches are pending in New Mexico. Another drug test crime lab, another chemist accused with tampering with evidence. Investigators for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement believe as many as 2,600 drug cases may have been compromised. A lab chemist in Pensacola allegedly stole prescription pain pills that had been seized as evidence in drug cases and replaced them with non-prescription pills. Commissioner Gerald Bailey said the chemist worked on cases with 80 law enforcement agencies since 2006. It is unknown how much pain medication leaked from the state's police agencies, but Bailey said, quote, "The quantities are large. We don't know if the individual is a user or a trafficker," end quote. Bailey has police across the state reviewing their evidence lockers to determine just how far the evidence swapping extends. Hundreds of drug crime defendants may have their cases dropped altogether. Bailey has proposed increasing employee drug testing at drug testing labs to combat any future thefts. A state representative in Arizona has filed a bill to legalize possession and cultivation of marijuana. Representative Ruben Gallego's proposal would allow adults 21 and older to possess an ounce of pot and grow 5 marijuana plants at home. Representative Gallego said his goal is to take marijuana out of the black market and regulate adult use. Quote, "We as a state should try to channel what's already going to occur," he said. "Right now it is so prevalent that it is practically legal. Everyone knows someone who is doing it or has done it. We will also be taxing it, and we're assuring that where it's sold is an appropriate place to be sold," end quote. Representative Gallego, a Democrat, has 12 other Democratic co-sponsors. The bill now goes to the Republican-controlled Arizona House and the desk of Speaker Andy Tobin, who in 2012 characterized Arizona's Proposition 203 as, quote, "an ill-advised experiment with so-called medical marijuana," end quote. Data from a new study shows a correlation between legalizing medical marijuana and a reduction in suicide rates. Researchers from Montana State University, Colorado University Denver, and San Diego State University analyzed state-level suicide data from 1990 to 2007. After controlling for economic conditions and state policies, researchers found a 10.8% reduction in suicides per 100,000 among young men aged 20 to 29, and a 9.4% reduction in men aged 30 to 39. Women's suicide rates did not seem to respond to medical marijuana laws. Daniel Rees, who co-authored the paper, explained, quote, "Young adult males are the ones who really seem to respond to legalization of medical marijuana. There's evidence that they respond by drinking less. You see a decline in traffic fatalities, especially alcohol-related ones," end quote. Researchers are unsure whether the reduction in male suicide is due to the use of marijuana to deal with stressful life events, the substitution of marijuana for alcohol that is linked to suicide, or other factors. This has been your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, February 4th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Transcripts of 420 Radio News are available exclusively at the National Cannabis Coalition. Visit ncc420.com to download them today. When we come back, we'll go behind the headlines and take a look at ABC News' 5 Ways Pot Can Kill You or Not. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.